we just need to grab a quick and dirty snapshot, we can use this BIA machine.
Okay, no, that freaking machine where you stand on it and you hold it and I don't know, it sends no. Just immediately no. Absolutely not. Terrible. Horrible inaccuracy. You may as well just ask a freaking 10-year-old and say, how fat's this person? It's probably a better estimate. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're checking out Jeff Nippard's dope new home gym. Most of you probably know if you watched me before, I got a pretty sick home gym myself, no need to brag. Got some good equipment, and I gotta be honest, I think Jeff's home gym is a wee little bit better than mine.
Okay, it's a lot better than mine.
But we're going to be getting into it today, letting you know what I think on his new research muscle facility. So yeah, let's watch the video.
This is the lobby. We've got this custom art piece up here on the wall. We got the custom JN logo mat down here. And behind this door is the dark side. Behind this door is the light side. Let's check out the light side first. Before we start the tour, I just want to make it clear that nothing in here was gifted or sponsored. I just picked out my favorite pieces from brands like Alico, Atlantis, Prime, even an old school Precor machine.
Alright, so right off the bat, he named some crazy expensive gym brands like Prime and Atlantis. I mean, those, like, another one I think is like really like, these are like the Gucci machines that are in like public gyms and stuff. Like, each of these pieces is absolutely ridiculous in price. Like, Prime, Atlantis, and Arsenal are like I'm not so much in like the gym and home gym equipment space. That's more my dad's thing, but you know, he tells me Prime, Arsenal, and Atlantis are like three of the biggest, like, okay, this shit is legit. So already this shit's a lot of money.
The pendulum squat. So if you guys have been watching me at all, you know that I'm a huge fan of pendulum squats, and it's a really good quad dominant squat because it is super hard in that bottom part of the range of motion.
Have to completely agree with him. Pendulum squat, probably my favorite squat option as well. I like the way it feels, how the weight moves up and down in an arc motion, and yeah, super hard in that bottom range of motion. It really forces you to sink your ass all the way down there. So I have to agree. I think especially the Atlantis pendulum squat, he has an amazing piece. Now the one I have is a little bit different because it's the Gear for Fit pendulum squat. Obviously, you know, not as premium as Atlantis, but it is pretty good. Now his pendulum squat has a counterbalance on it, whereas mine, it's a variable counterbalance, so you can choose to have none, whereas his is a fixed counterbalance. I choose to have none because it makes it so much harder in the stretch, because the counterbalance makes it a little bit easier down there. But hey, still, obviously, I mean, the Atlantis is such a great piece.
And the thing I love about this one is that depending on where you load these plates, you can emphasize different aspects of the range of motion.
And that's what I love so much about Prime is that you can always change which part of the range of motion is emphasized. So maybe you're training for strength and your lockouts are where like you're weaker, so you can add more, you know, weight to the lockout portion. Or if you're training for hypertrophy, you want to maximize, you know, hypertrophy based off the research, you put more in the stretched half. So I am a huge fan of that, and I love that idea. That's why I love Prime so much.
All right, leg press. So this is actually a fancy leg press. So most leg presses are just linear. So you have this 45-degree angle and the weight moves up and down in a straight line. This one actually moves in an arc. It just feels a lot more natural, and I can get nice and deep on this one. Super smooth machine.
I've actually never tried like a squat leg press machine like that. I don't think it would be my favorite because I don't think I'd be able to get all the way down, but hey, he likes it, and you know, it's a good option.
I have a Smith machine in here, and with a Smith machine, I'm really just looking for two things. One is a straight up and down bar path. So I personally am not a fan of the Smith machines that have a angled bar path. So I wanted one that goes straight up and down. And then other than that, I just wanted one that was really smooth. There's nothing worse than a Smith machine that needs some oil. And I've been using this one pretty much every workout too.
Smith machine, honestly, I think it's such a hella underrated like machine. I don't know really why people freaking dog on it. Like it's honestly good, and I have to agree as well. I really don't like the angled Smith machines. I think those effing suck, literal dog shit. I much prefer the straight up and down. I don't know, for me it just feels way more comfortable, but maybe for your bone structure or whatever, maybe the angled one's a little better. So pick the one you like. They're both good. For me, I am totally in agreement with Jeff. I love the one that goes straight up and down.
You guys ready for the dark side? Let's go.
And bro's got a light side and a dark side. So his light side is, like he said in the video, a little bit more powerlifting focused, where the dark side is more bodybuilding focused. And I think that's kind of clever. Like, I think I like that. Obviously, they both have, like, you know, aspects of both, but you know, sometimes, you know, people go to the gym. I feel like the main two reasons people go to the gym, it's either to get stronger or to look better. So I think it's cool that he has two separate sides, you know, depending on what your goals are and stuff like that, what you're feeling that day. So I think that's really cool. And I mean, this home gym is so sick.
The prime chest supported row. And so just like with the leg extension, depending on where you load the plates, you can overload different aspects of the range of motion. So if you load the plates on the bottom, you can overload the squeeze, load them in the middle, load that mid part of the range, load them up on top, and you'll get more tension in the stretch.
Prime seated row, it has to be my favorite seated row I ever used. When I went to Pure Muscle and Fitness to work out, they had the one there. Holy shit, it's absolutely amazing. It's got those articulating handles, and obviously, you know, you can put the weight wherever you want it to emphasize the range of motion. I think that's very crucial for back training as well, because back training, or, you know, for the most part, it's hardest in the contraction, which is kind of the opposite way you want it for hypertrophy. So I think it's really awesome that you can load, you know, that stretch position. Not that you only have to do that, and not that emphasizing on the squeeze won't grow muscles. Just if you want to optimize that 1% of 1%, you know, just emphasize the stretch a little bit more. Or you can, you know, just maybe put a couple more on the stretch and a little fewer less on the contraction, so you can make the strength curve a little bit more even throughout. You can basically do whatever you want. So prime, mwah.
Well, the other day I busted out one of the many new scientific tools from the research room with my friend Will, where we hooked electrodes up to his front delts, side delts, and rear delts, and measured muscle activation of all three heads on my new shoulder press machine. The results really surprised me.
What we found was super high activation in the front delts, as you'd expect, super low activation in the rear delts, as you'd expect, but also super high activation in the side delts.
You actually had more lateral than front on the shoulder press.
What? That's insane, because as soon as I stopped the set, I'm like, my side delt's pumped.
Yeah.
Then I hooked electrodes up to myself and got my own measurements and found the exact same thing. So I'm not saying that that's conclusive by any means, but it seems that at least for Will and me, a shoulder press is not just a front delt exercise. It seems to also really activate the side delts, at least more than what most people think.
Something I do as well. So for me anyway, I don't really feel my side delts. I can't get a good mind-muscle connection when I'm doing pressing movements. I think if you do dumbbells, that will also increase side delt activation, because they'll have to stabilize a little bit more than using a machine. But I think a good way of also, you know, trying to emphasize the side delts when you do your presses is do a pre-exhaust. So I'll always start my shoulder training doing like machine lateral raises, and then when I get to my pressing, my side delt is already fatigued, so that's going to be more so the limiting factor in my pressing, like my overhead pressing, than my front delt. So I think, you know, if you want to get more side delt activation from a shoulder press or any kind of pressing, do like side lateral raises first, so they're a little bit pre-fatigued, so they become the limiting factor on your pressing movements.
Full range of motion for your rear delts is from here all the way back to here. And so if you're facing the machine, you're only getting this aspect. It would be like doing bicep curls only in the top half and completely cutting out the bottom. So that's how I modify this. And when we did that and we measured muscle activation, we did see super high rear delt activation as you'd expect. But also I found it interesting. There was very little side delt activation on this and basically no front delt activation. So yeah, really good rear delt isolation exercise if you're looking to bring up your rear delts.
And this is personally how I've started training my rear delts. I find that when I do standard reverse, you know, pec deck or whatever, or cable flies, like my mid traps just completely take over. But when I do the single arm and only do like the stretch portion of the range, I find I can engage my rear delts way better. Now, obviously, you know, I'm not a big fan of doing single arm at a time. That is the one exception of an exercise I make.
This is my favorite chest press machine on the planet. I actually call this the Phil Heath machine because I remember when I was first getting into bodybuilding, I saw a video of Phil Heath using this machine, and ever since then, I've just been convinced that it's the best machine for the chest. And to make it a little bit more effective, I actually added these fat grips just so I can get a little extra range of motion at the bottom. But what I might do is actually modify this seat to bring it forward a little bit more because I feel like I could get just a little bit deeper. But when it comes to smoothness, you just can't beat the hammer strength chest press, man.
So while I do think like the hammer strength chest press and all those hammer strength machines are good, personally I just think they're completely overrated. It's gonna load the contracted position a lot more than the stretch position. And while that's not a deal breaker, personally for me, I also find I can't go as deep. And I don't know, I mean, they're not my favorite, I can't lie. I much prefer doing a I'd probably prefer like a weight stack or like a converge. That is one thing I really like about the hammer strength machine, like the chest press anyway, is it is converging. But I'm just not a big fan of the strength curve, and I think for the most part it's kind of overrated. But hey, if he likes it, go ahead, bro. It's definitely still gonna get you a thick chest.
Okay, over here we've got a treadmill, whatever. This is, I think honestly, it's the best cable machine that I could find. It's called the Nautilus Human Sport Freedom Trainer. And the reason I think it's so good is that it's just so versatile. So you can set the cables to any height you want. You can move them in or out. You can do any kind of exercise from low, from high. And this one I use every single upper body workout.
Ooh, Nautilus. That is another really expensive brand my dad tells me about. And yeah, the dual cable cross or whatever that he's got there, I think any real dual cable cross is just such a good machine. Like if I could only have one machine for a home gym, it would absolutely be a dual cable cross machine, whatever machine that is. He's got this Nautilus one here, which is obviously, you know, probably quite a bit better than the one I have here at home or whatever, but it's just such a versatile machine because you can pretty much do anything on it. So many different ranges of motion. It's just such a good freaking machine to have. It's super essential for a home gym, especially if you can only get like one thing. That's definitely it. Jeff also has like super sick lighting in this gym too, which I think is amazing. Just shows you how much of a difference lighting can make to your physique. You know, you see people on social media, and they all have the best lighting. So, you know, next time you see people on social media, it looks too good to be true. Probably is. They got the best ideal lighting. Lighting can just make a physique. It can make you look like you don't even train at all to someone who's on roids. It's just lighting, huge factor in how you look.
This is a top-of-the-line DEXA machine for measuring body fat and lean mass. Some DEXAs are less precise, but this one has an error margin of around 0.5%.
At my latest check-in for my fat loss experiment, my DEXA scan came back with a body fat percentage of 10.3%. So if I lose anything more than 0.5% body fat from here, this DEXA will be able to accurately pick it up.
And DEXA is great for tracking fat loss, but for the muscle building experiments I want to do, it's not quite accurate enough. So I also got this brand new ultrasound machine, which can measure muscle thickness directly.
And now we got like the crux of it. This is where Jeff's doing his research and stuff, and he's got a DEXA machine, which honestly, like, I just don't really buy anything the freaking DEXA says. Now, maybe I'm wrong and he's got this DEXA, like he says, where it's a lot more accurate than, you know, a lot of other ones. But from what I've seen from the DEXA, it can just range from completely wrong to right sometimes, and then like wrong in the other way. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's doing his best, obviously, and he's got ultrasounds as well and shit like that. You know, he probably can't afford an MRI because that's just crazy, which is the only machine that's 110% accurate. And, you know, that's also got a bunch of radiation and shit to go along with it, I'm pretty sure. So it's probably not a real reasonable choice to be measuring body fat every single day. So he's doing his best. Obviously, he wants to conduct a lot of studies. And, you know, I think this is great because there are so many gaps in, like, muscle hypertrophy and stuff like that right now. Like, we're obviously getting a lot of leads on the stretch and stuff like that. But, I mean, there's, like, especially on, like, training technique and stuff, there's so many different gaps. Like, what exercises are actually the best and this and that. So I think it's awesome that he's trying to do this to try and fill in some of those gaps. I think it's really cool.
So if we get a load of people in here, and we just need to grab a quick and dirty snapshot, we can use this BIA machine. Yeah, I'll definitely use the DEXA more, but BIA can measure body comp in about 1 minute, whereas DEXA takes about 20 to 30 minutes. And BIA is still pretty good at tracking changes.
Okay, no, that freaking machine where you stand on it and you hold it and, I don't know, it sends a no. Just immediately no. Absolutely not. Terrible. Horrible inaccuracy. You may as well just ask a freaking 10-year-old and say, how fat's this person? It's probably a better estimate.
And I'm super excited about this EMG machine. I want to run an EMG validation study to see if higher electrical activity is actually predictive of hypertrophy over the long term, because that's not something we really know yet. If it is, this will be really useful for comparing exercises.
I actually think that would be that is a pretty big gap, I think, in fitness or whatever. I think that would be so cool if he can do a study like showing is EMG activation actually predictive of muscle hypertrophy in the long term and stuff like that. I think that's a way a lot of like sciencier lifters or whatever try and pick exercises, but there is no actual study showing that higher EMG activation does lead to more hypertrophy. So I think what Jeff is going to do here is going to be, he's doing some really great stuff. His home gym or his muscle lab or whatever is absolutely amazing. Way freaking better than mine. But hey, you know, I'm doing my best here. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of Jeff's home gym or muscle lab or whatever. I believe he's doing podcasts there as well. All sorts of fun stuff. So great time in fitness. I think it's amazing. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace.